Who do you pray for? I pray for people in my life, pray for myself. I pray for the leaders of the country, leaders all around the world, for Christians in unknown places and people in difficulties. I pray prayers for people who've told me things in confidence, and I pray for people who have stated publicly that they need a prayer for something. And occasionally I pray for what we might call celebrities or just somebody in the news, somebody who has maybe some influence over people, professors and teachers and politicians and local mayors of all kinds. And then sometimes I pray for people with health issues. And then I pray for people with uh, spiritual issues. Sometimes I'll pray for celebrities, like people that who have entertained me by their movies or programs of some kind, and I know from their lifestyle and statements that they are outside of a relationship with the Lord. They just don't have one. They might even be antagonistic to a godly worldview, that we're created, that we're loved, and that we have a purpose. But I'll pray for them, and then sometimes over time you can see people make life changes, and sometimes it's subtle, sometimes it's dramatic. Often it's just a slow period of time in which the Hollywood lifestyle perhaps just kind of eats away at them. Um, uh, One of the actors, Sheen, the son, he's gone through really bad health troubles, and I pray for him occasionally. And I pray, I think one of his children turned to the Lord. You can see that kind of thing. So who do you pray for? You can leave a comment. What actor, what person who is in the news that you don't necessarily have a contact with, but you feel like you have some kind of spiritual connection to them, to encourage them and to pray for them. And maybe you have no way of making a connection with them in some way, because they have thousands or millions of people who look to them and want their attention. But you can pray for them, and you pray that God will move in their life and bring somebody into their life. Isn't the same for local people? I pastor a small church, and I look at that situation and think about who among those people can I pray for and who can I help. Um, and Depending on the church, I usually call myself a minister of Christ. That's the way I think of myself, an evangelist or minister of Christ. And some people elect to call me a pastor, and then some people want me as like a life coach, that kind of thing. So I help people in the way and walk with them in the way, and to the degree that we can walk together. And right now, a person that comes to mind is Jordan Peterson, Dr. Jordan Peterson, a very intellectual man, and he's gone through health crisis. I kind of study some of his own particular health issues. He's tried to go on the carnivore diet or different restrictive diets because he has inflammation issues, and he's been poisoned by various medicines over time that had side effects and bad side effects, and he's really gone through a health crisis. And I want to pray for him. I think he has some wide-ranging effects on people, and he likes to see things for the end results, I think. And that's one of our family mottos. Specifically, my family motto is, I've tried to look it up and write it in Latin one time, and it doesn't flow off in Latin very well. But it's just a simple phrase. Usually when I leave someone and we're parting, I will say, "Let me know if there's anything I can do for you." And that is our family motto. It's the way that we look at life. It's the way that we try to operate in our daily living. Is if there's somebody who has a need, we try to help them to the degree that we're able to. It's not giving a little bit, it's just giving everything. Giving everything. God, you own it all. It's yours. How can I use it for your kingdom? And then things that we're stewards over, that we keep for ourselves. If you ask me for my car, I might give it to you, but probably won't, because but if I have extra food, I might give it to you. I might give you things that you didn't think to ask. Maybe I have nothing to give you. I was taught and trained by a missionary. Actually, it was in Haiti, and he said, so he was going to the village or the common marketplace with money in his pocket, and people knew he had money in his pocket because where he was going, it was a routine that he went to buy food for the orphanage that he worked at. And he said, so when people would ask him, "Do you have money?" he was kind of perplexed on what to say, because they didn't say, "Can I have your money?" First they would say, "Do you have any money?" And so the honest answer was yes, he did, but I'm not going to give you any money. And that just started a range of communication and a way of speaking that he didn't want to get involved with. So he thought about it, and so this was his answer. So he'd walk along with some money to go buy some fruit in the market. I'm trying to think of the name of the fruit that they would eat there that quite often, mango. So he'd get ready to go buy mango from the market, bring it home, chop it up, and feed it to the orphans. And so he had some money in his pocket, and they would say, "Do you have any money?" And his reply was, "I don't have any money for you." And that's literally true, and exactly what he would say. And then they could understand the situation. And at the time, I was sent by a church to go there and to build pieces of the orphanage to finish it up. One was to put on a roof, and we had a list of things. And if we got those things done at the end, then we could build a baptistry. So we worked pretty hard. But I was walking around with what would be the average person's there income per year. I was walking around in my pocket with 10 years worth of their income. So it was a significant amount of money to the average person there. But it was for building materials and to go buy all the supplies for a new roof. So I was a steward over that money so that the roof would end up being not leaking above the orphan's head. So you are in charge of things in your life. And it is not like you are unwilling to give it to somebody. It's that it was given to you for a purpose. God got it to you in some way for your purposes through him. And it could be a couch for you to take a nap on. If you give that couch away and you're sleeping on the floor, then you're going to be tired or have a sore shoulder or something, and you won't be able to fulfill God's mission for your life and live the long and healthy life as God would have you to live. So it is, even though maybe it's a good thing to give somebody something, it doesn't mean that you need to give everything, because you are entrusted some things to use in your own life, your own ministry, your own purposes. And so that's why you can continue in life and not just give everything away. Because you are a steward of it to use it. And if you sleep well, then you can work well. You can do the work that God has called you to do, and that brings more money into your home or makes more efforts. If you're doing volunteer work, you're able to do more volunteer work. So if your car doesn't work because you gave everything away and you can't fix it, then you've not been a good steward of what God has given you. So it's all a balance, and you pray about it and you say, God, here's what I have in my life, and here's how I'm going to be a steward of it and take care of things. And so some of that is our emotional well-being and strength and how much we can help people. One of the lessons that I give a lot is the lesson of understanding the difference between a friend and a ministry. And so I would under a friend, I would say that a friend is someone who you mutually make each other better. And they've got your back, you've got their back. And it can at times, it kind of be out of sync, right? You may have a friend who goes through a hard time, and it could be for years or the rest of your life, but you know that they were the kind of person that they would do as much as they could for you. And so now you're repaying them for them being there for you, and just because of your love for them, you're going to do what you can in order to make their life better. And then sometimes we have ministries, people that we help, and that is something that's an outflow from us. And Jesus said, I have meat that you know not of, and that is to do the will of the Father. And so doing God's will gives you strength and allows you to have the energy to continue doing it. But sometimes we can get out of whack. We can confuse a ministry with friends. And if you have a group of friends who you could never rely upon to help you, then you just have to reclassify that in your brain. Now, if they're unable to, that's something different. But if you got a group of friends and you're the one who helps them move their things when they move, but they never help you, or they say they will, but they just never have the time, then you got to reevaluate that, and you got to classify that as a ministry, not a friendship. And sometimes people get very lonely or go through difficult times in life because they have confused, and because they're nice people, they build a group of people around them who they're thinking in their mind that these are my friends, but really they have a group of people that they're ministering to around them who don't have either the emotional or any kind of capacity in which to reciprocate that help if you're in times of need. Now, so you don't do it because it's reciprocal. You do it because you love this person, but you got to understand what a friend is and what a ministry is. And if a friend is your friend, then they're going to help you out if they can. And then you're going to help them out when you can. And not only are you going to help them out when you can, you're going to look for opportunities in which to help your friend out and to make connections. And sometimes you're like, wow, I haven't seen this friend in a long time. And so you call them up or you get with them in some way. And then guess what happens? In that situation, it's not a drain upon you. You are encouraged and strengthened and given. When you do a ministry, God gives you strength and encouragement from the task. But sometimes what you're doing is actually a drain. If you go feed the homeless, they may be thankful, and you may get really ministered to just by their thankfulness. Or they may be just grouchy people and not want your help hardly and just not be thankful. But still, that doesn't mean it's not a ministry, not something you should do. You have to decide what you're going to do with the time and talents that God has given you. And ministry is sometimes quite literally a thankless job if you're doing a ministry to someone who is not in a position spiritually in which to recognize God's kindness. And so when you're kind to them, they don't see it as a blessing. They just take it as like they're owed it or something. But a friend, when you help out a friend, their gratitude, their gratitude, just well, and the personal satisfaction that you come up with. Remember the movie? Maybe you never watched it. I think it was called. Well, there was a couple of them by the term My Bodyguard. It was about one of them was this boy and this older boy that was really strong, and he helped out the younger boy who was being bullied. And then they had this little motorcycle, and they were missing I believe it was the carburetor for the motorcycle, and they just went through junkyards looking for finding a carburetor that would happen to fit this particular motorcycle. So they went searching. And these are just two guys who had become friends. Just that's the way friends often develop, is through difficulties or just life experience. You happen to be sitting by somebody, you're working with them, going to school with them or whatever, and you become friends because of proximity. And then you continue friends because you both treat each other with respect. And usually you have some kind of like interest and ability to continue to be connected. So they eventually find they find that carburetor, and they hold it up, like, look at this, like they found a new heart for somebody, right? It was a prized possession, something they really needed. Well, that's what friends do when they help each other. It is a joy, and when you see them get something, you're very encouraged. You're very happy. A particular friend of mine was a long jumper, and I never won a individual conference championship, which, much to my chagrin, I won a mile relay, and that has been really an important piece of my history. I really enjoy that fact and have a fond memory of that moment. But my friend, he won the conference long jump, and he was deserving. See, sometimes I see people who will get something, and then they just get it because they're very, very talented or very, very lucky or something like that. But when you see somebody who struggles for something and really trains for it, and then they get it, so they're very deserving, and then they get this thing, and then if it's a friend who has you have seen them because you're their friend, the intimate details of how they put off other things, or they were focusing on their training and it could be something like in computers, or it could be anything that takes time for you to attain a level, a certificate, or whatever, a skill and expertise in some way, and then it comes and you get the fruits of that effort. And if it's a friend, you enjoy that as if it was your very own. And therein lies one of the definitions of friendship. Not only do you each make each other better, when your friend is successful, you enjoy it as if it is your accomplishment, because you feel so connected to what they're going through. And so when you're praying for your friends, you pray in a different way. My friend is deserving. My friend needs this thing. And sometimes you put those things together. And then you pray, God, how can I help them accomplish what they need to accomplish? How can I help them meet this need that they have in their life? And then then your friend is doing that same thing for you. So as you walk through life, And sometimes all they're doing is fulfilling the need of companionship and friendship and a sense of history and belonging that we all need. And and then when you go out to a ministry, you can have that connection. You see somebody that you're helping out or whatever, and that's good. But you don't base that upon this reciprocal friendship relationship. It's a ministry, and you're reaching out to them, and you're giving with without that personal connection that a friendship has. And I know those things blur because of how much we get from helping somebody else out. The Bible says it's better to give than receive, and there certainly is a blessing from that. I just believe that I'm called to help people look through their group of friends and ask this very simple question: can they rely upon that friend to have their best interests at heart, and to the degree of their ability to help you have what God would have you to have, to be in a position? If you were hungry, they would help you. They would feed you. If you were cold, or if you needed clothes, they would help you. And that's just more than just a ministry. They would go out of the way in order to help you. And you need people like that. The Bible talks about, and pity the man, and I'm paraphrasing it, but pity the man who doesn't have anybody to help him when he falls down. And so I want to encourage people to have and develop and maintain those friendships with people who you can have that reciprocal relationship with, so that you know that they are there for you, that they got your back. And one of the things, like if you tell them like you have some problem, and they're not going to spread it around the neighborhood. And if you fall down in some way, they're not going to spread that, and they're not going to be happy that you fell down. Sometimes people have friends, and they call them friends, but really it's a ministry. Again, they confuse it. They get it confused. And so they're sitting there and they're talking to what they think is their friend. And then that friend, when you tell them, oh, I've had this difficulty, then they're going to be happy you had the difficulty, because they feel that they're in competition with you, or they simply enjoy the misery of others. It doesn't make sense, but it is the reality of this world, in which the people often see everything as a competition, and if you're bad, doing bad, then they feel better about themselves or something. Whatever that mind warp trick is, in which they glory in the destruction of other people. There are people who think they have friends, and then that friend is thinking in that way, that when you go through difficulties, they're secretly or sometimes openly happy. And if you share with them, ask yourself among your friends who you could share something with, and they would not use that against you, and they would not use it inappropriately. Sometimes you can have a friend who just can't keep their mouth shut. And if you say something like, well, I'm thinking about quitting my job and looking for something else for some reason. But obviously you don't want to tell your job yet but who could you tell those kind of things to, who would give you wise counsel? Maybe they would suggest you stick it out a while longer, see if things change. Maybe get some extra training. Maybe or maybe you're going to retire from there at some point, and then here's the steps in which how long you can continue to work there. Maybe that's best. In other words, they may have some alternative wisdom for you that you hadn't thought about yet. But can you trust them and tell them something, and then they're not going to share that to the negative effect of your own life? In the same way, you need to be that kind of friend. I tell the people, I said, when they said, I'm going to tell you something, and I don't want you to repeat it. And I'll tell them, telling me something is safer than telling yourself. And what I mean by that is, if you tell me something and it's a secret between you and I, If that gets out, it's not going to be from me. It might be from you, but it will not be from me, because that's the kind of friend I want to be. And so that's the kind of person I believe. I believe in confidence. People tell me, something really hurt my feelings, and then they share that with me. Okay, that doesn't mean that I need to share that with somebody else. And so I encourage us to have those kind of friends and to be that kind of friend. And then really look for people. The Bible gives us blessings for helping people when we have no reason to help them. They aren't going to be able to repay you in any way. Feed somebody who could never repay you. Help somebody who has no way of ever gaining a position in which they would be a benefit to you. And that is a ministry. And that is something that God honors. Now, sometimes we do things in secret. The Bible encourages us to do that. But mostly, I think, I may have this not quite right, but I think mostly we're supposed to just directly to the person that we're helping say, I feel like I should help you in this way. The Lord motivates me, and this is just something I want to do in service to my God, my King, because his kingdom breaks out upon this earth, and I want to operate in that way. And so I want to help you because of what God has done to me. And it doesn't matter if you accept it in God's name or not. It's just something I want to do. It doesn't matter if I'm going to offer this to you. And so you offer them a loaf of bread or whatever. And that's a ministry. And you need to pray about who to do that for and where your ministry is. And people sometimes ask me, well, what is my ministry? What am I supposed to be doing? And what I'll say, I'll just say, and I use the word nexus sometimes, like the connection point between two lines. I'll say where your heart and ability meets, that is your ministry. And sometimes you have the heart, but you don't have the ability. And sometimes you have the ability, but that's just not something really that you care that much about. And then it's a matter of degrees. Sometimes I know a lot of people, by a lot of people, I'm talking, I've probably known about 20 people like that, who do church work to their, too much. And sometimes leaders in the church will take advantage of them because they're there all the time. They'll help and they'll do whatever. And sometimes they should not. And some leader of the church should go to them and say, listen, you're doing too much here in this ministry. You need to be home. And a good test for that is, go ask somebody at your home, and we can, do you want this person to be gone that much? That kind of thing. And we can all make sacrifices. But if you're making a sacrifice, you need to make it your sacrifice. You shouldn't be sacrificing something for somebody else. For example, King David was given something, and he was going to sacrifice it, but he required that he would pay for it. He was given some water that somebody went and got from his home area for him to drink, but he was like, no, I'm going to sacrifice this to the Lord, because it was something for him, but he gave it up for the Lord. And that can be a sacrifice. But here's the thing. If I, right now, let's say I'm supposed to be doing something like with a family member, and I'm talking to you instead, and my family member is waiting on me to, go bring them a meal or something, and I don't give them the meal, but then I'm doing this kind of work, then I'm asking and actually just causing to happen somebody else to sacrifice something that I decided, and that's not appropriate. For your family members, you need to be there for them, and not spend all your time at the church. Don't sacrifice your family, because that's not what God would have. Don't sacrifice your time with your family unless your family is in agreement with you. In the same way with your friendships. Sometimes your friendships are in a situation where you're like, oh, hey, I got this thing that's going on. I won't be able to see you for a few weeks or whatever. It's like, okay, friends are that way. It's give and take. But what if you had agreed to help them out somewhere, and now all of a sudden you've told them, I'm not going to help you. I'm going to go do something else. So you're backing out on your word. So you got to think about, and you're causing them to sacrifice your connection and your time when you've committed it to them. So don't sacrifice for other people. Don't cause other people to be harmed by your desire to serve the Lord, because the Lord wants you to bless your friends, to bless your family, to honor your word, and to be in keeping with the way that God would have you to live. And then in the abundance of that, see, Jesus said, I'm going to give you life, and I'm going to give you an abundant life. And in the abundance of that life, then you help out other people. And sometimes you get into the sacrificial mode, in which you're helping somebody else when it does really hurt you. But again, don't make that be something that's hurting somebody else because of what you want to do. So, what is your ministry? It's where your heart and your ability connect up. And then to the degree that you can do those things without breaking the principles that God would have you to follow, to do things unwisely. So the Bible talks about, hey, if you're getting ready to build something, count the cost, figure out how to do it, and don't just leave it undone. So if you got some project you're really supposed to be doing, and you believe that God would have you to do that, and so you've counted the cost, you figured it out, and now you're working on that. And then a lot of times we get kind of scatterbrained, we get double-minded, and we say, oh, now I'm going to go do this. And we sacrifice what we're called to do and what we have agreed to do before the Lord and everybody else. And then we're starting to do things that eat into our mission. So think about your mission, what you're really supposed to do. And don't let other opportunities and filler of this life take that away from you. So I'm hoping that this conversation has been a benefit. And I just want to summarize before I close out here soon, is focus on knowing the friends that you can circle up, their responses are going to be to their own ability to help you out in your time of need, so that you know that they are a friend, and a friend who is a friend in need is a friend indeed, right? That old saying. And if you don't have enough of those, you need to develop those. And the way that you develop friends is you spend time with people and you help them out, and you see who's reciprocal to that, who's helping you out, who's concerned about you. I always tell the story about my friend Roger in college. I tell this story quite often, so forgive me if it's redundant. But we were lifting weights. We probably ran about 5 miles, and then we'd lift weights, and the weight room was usually kind of hot, and so we'd lift probably anywhere from a half hour to an hour. We'd talk and lift and that kind of thing. And my friend Roger looks over me and said, hey, you want to pop? And I usually didn't drink pop, but we just ran 5 miles and been lifting weights for a while. So I said, I just said, yeah, I'll take one, thinking that both of us will sit there and have a pop and take a little break and then lift some more weights. He went back, handed me a pop, and I was drinking it. And a couple minutes by, I look over and I don't see him drink anything. I said, where's your pop? He goes, oh, I only had enough money for one. Now that's a friend who gives up. So when you have those kind of friendships, maintain it. Now, I beat him in a mile anyway, but 40 plus years later, we're still friends. And he's still that kind of person. And so if I needed a pop right now, he'd hop on a plane and bring me one. So develop those kind of friendships. Figure out your ministry and focus on your ministry and your commitments to your friends and family, and follow through with those. And don't let things that you want to do sacrifice things for other people. Your friendships you've committed to and your family that you're obligated to. Don't let things that you've decided to do to sacrifice your relationship with them, your time with them, or the things that you want to provide for them. So God bless you. And think about who you prayed for. I mentioned I'm praying for Jordan Peterson. He talks about philosophy and counseling and psychology and these kind of things and large trends among society. And he talks about biblical truths and biblical applications to life. And then he's going through some real health issues. And so I've seen people that I've prayed for who are in the public spotlight turn to the Lord and publicly confess him. So go ahead and think of the worst person you can think of. Is somebody you have a heart for. Again, it's like the ministry. It's like, who should you pray for? It's whoever you have a heart for. I listen to Jordan Peterson. I listen to certain some actors who have had an effect on me because of their performance and the character that they present. And then I see something about their life and I just have a concern for them in some way, or just can see that God could use them. And so I can pray, right? So I have the ability. So my heart and my ability merge together. And then because of those two things that cross, that is the connection point, the nexus. And then that's a ministry in which I'm supposed to do is to pray for somebody. So whoever comes to your mind that you have a heart for them, you have the ability to pray. And then among all those groups of people, some of those that you have a heart for have some kind of need. And then you have to see, does your ability to help them, your ability to give up something without sacrificing your obligations before the Lord, does your ability to help them meet your heart for them? And sometimes I get all kinds of messages. Will you give from all over the world? And the first thing they always say, hey brother, how you doing? And I'm saying, hey, I'm good. They say, can you give me? It's like, I don't even know you yet. The very first thing, we haven't talked. You haven't shown me. Now, if I had a heart for that, different thing. I've tried to help different places around the world drill water wells. And I've yet to talk to somebody who has the ability to drill a water well, who needs water, who then will spend time with me to learn how to do it, to bless the people around them, because they want money instead of knowledge. Give people wisdom. See who will take wisdom. I help people overcome difficulties in their life. Sometimes all they want is money and help and whatever kind of things. And, like the Bible at a certain point said, silver and gold have I none, but such that I have, right? So figure out what your ministry is and then give it. And then you're not God. You don't have a limited. Maybe you own a hill, maybe you own 1,000 cattle. I don't know. But God owns all the hills and all the cattle. So he's going to bless things. He's going to work through your life. But you have to decide what your ministry is and who to help. And if God blesses you and gives you more and you can help more people, great. But you always got to be a steward over the things that God has given you so that you can take care of your family obligations, your friendship obligations, and take care of your own health. And like I said, don't give up your couch so that somebody else can have an extra couch if you need a couch in order to rest up to do your life ministries. What kind of creature comforts, if you will, do you need in order to feel good about your life? Here I've got a nice vehicle. I like to sit in it. I like to talk to other people. Usually I have tea, sometimes coffee, often coffee. But what I really like is on a sunny day to sit out by myself. I don't get on the phone. I don't communicate to other people. It's just kind of me and the Lord. And I park my van here under a shade tree, drink some tea. It used to be sweet tea, but as I've gotten older, my sugar level's gotten higher, and now I have to drink unsweet tea. So pray for me about that I can get that right? If you have the heart and you have the ability, pray for me. And if you need something, both physically or prayer, let me know. And if I can pray for you, I'll definitely, if it comes to my mind, I'll definitely do it. And then if you need something physically, if I can do it, if I have it, if it doesn't violate the stewardship that I'm supposed to do before the Lord, if I can give it to you, I'll give it to you, free of charge, whatever you need, whatever I can do. But obviously, 5 million people connect to me and say, hey, I need something, and I won't be able, there'll be 4 million and something that won't get it. So, but if I can help you out, I'll try to do it, because family model. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. Please let me know. So let your friends know 2 things: that you got their back, and that if you can help them out anyway, that you will. You're a good steward. I'm saying that in faith. God bless you. I'm here if I can help you. Take care.